What motivates you to get up each day and do what God's calling you and asking you to do through your business? Is it money? Is it power? Is it recognition? What if I told you that God says all those things are foolishness? And what if I told you that there's scientific research to actually back it up? Keep listening as we talk about the 3 levels of motivation that go beyond what we normally think as why we are motivated to do our work. Well, really to do anything. We'll go beyond that carrot and stick mentality, that reward and consequences, and think a little bit deeper and look at why, as an entrepreneur, we are motivated to get up each day, work long and hard, and stay energized. Hey there, wise woman. Today on the Truth in Business show, Mary and I are going to be talking about you and actually us as entrepreneurs. We are a unique bunch and we want our work to count for something. That means that we do have to stay motivated. We're going to talk about not only motivation for entrepreneurs, but for better work all around. It is for motivating you, your team, and your clients. And we're going to use an acronym, M.A.P, M-A-P. What is motivating you the most? M for mastery, A for autonomy, P for purpose. This is DeneenTB.
And I'm Mary Allure.
So join us to find out how you can stay motivated as a Christian entrepreneur to do what God is calling you to do. Okay, Mary. Okay. One of my favorite motivation verses, I've got to start with that today, is Colossians 3:23. It says, work willingly at whatever you do as though you were working for the Lord rather than for people. How do you think this applies to the many clients that we actually work with?
Oh, well, it applies to all of our clients because that's what we really try to help show them and help them with and support them in doing. To work willingly for the Lord, as if the Lord was our client.
Exactly. I think that that's really great. And when we understand that our business is to serve God,
right,
then it takes on a new meaning, a new motivation. We get to do it. We get to do it, right?
Right. Yeah. And I love, the word serve, because it's one of my values. I love to serve.
Yes.
But I just love the word serve because really that's what we need to do, or we're called to do, is to serve others. And
exactly.
in doing so, serving God. So,
yes, and I think that's an important concept for everyone to understand. But before we get into this topic and we dive a little bit deeper today, I want to remind everyone out there to subscribe to the channel if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening to this podcast, make sure to follow us right away, give us that 5-star rating, and do share the episode.
Yeah, we'd love for you to share. We'd love to reach more women, Christian women. That's really our goal. So we can serve them too. See, See, we're putting it all together, all the serving.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get into this discussion. So, Mary, I have to back up a little bit and give credit to Daniel Pink in his book, Drive, for the terms that we're going to be chatting through today. Right. There's a ton of research about motivation from all types of industries in that book, from education to economy, that have concluded that we do our best work. We can get it out of ourselves and others when these 3 things, the MAP, is present: the mastery, the autonomy, and the purpose. Right. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to it too because of what you said, the science behind it and the research, which I love. I think that's so important. And it's not just somebody that just put it out there and, it's science backed.
It's science backed. We love that. Ecclesiastes 4:4 says, Solomon's talking, he says, then I observed that most people are motivated to success because they envy their neighbors. But this too is meaningless, like chasing the wind. So really, it's if we don't have Christ, then our motivations are limited to money or prestige or power or whatever it is. Right. If the only reason that we're running our business is to get that kind of recognition or whatever, we've really missed out on God's plan for our business. Isn't that true?
Yeah. And the thing that hit me so much is the envy. And I mean, come on, we're all, at least I know I am. I'm guilty of it. And I see it on social media. I see these people who are influencers, and I'm like, wow, look at how many followers they have. And is that what's motivating me?
I know. It can really be defeating at times because if we look too closely, then we do that comparison trap and we end up really sabotaging ourselves.
Yeah, and I have to often pull myself away from it and reorient myself because it's so easy. Do you find it's easy to fall into that trap?
Yes, it can be easy, but I think that the reason that I like what we're talking about today is that if we don't focus on that, if we focus on what it is that God's calling us to do through mastery, autonomy, and purpose,
Right.
then we're able to have that focus. We can flip it over. We can not allow the enemy to get into our heads and distract us from what God's calling us to do. And I know that when people are listening to this, they're going to say, well, purpose is the reason I'm in business, or autonomy is when I'm in business, or maybe it's mastery. So as we talk through each one of these, I want to challenge everybody to kind of listen for where you're starting. Like you might start with purpose or mastery, but then how can you incorporate the other two to keep you motivated? I think that's like the most important thing. Right. So I know that mastery, let's start with M, because we're taking a map. So we have our map here. So M is mastery. And I know in Calling Clarity, we talk a lot about mastery, doing what you're good at as an entrepreneur. And we have used what we call the clarity worksheet, right? How to get clarity worksheet to really help people find that intersection, right? Those three pieces. What are those three? Do you remember those three pieces?
Oh my gosh, you're calling me out on this. Let's see. The intersection of what you're good at, what you love to do, and what breaks your heart.
Yep. Like, how do you want to serve? And I always say, but what breaks your heart, right? What do you see that is a problem that you're like, I want to solve that for somebody, right?
Right. Or
so
maybe
it really is
maybe it doesn't have to break your heart, but it's something in your heart like, oh, I really need to serve in this way. Like,
exactly.
This fills my heart. Too.
That is exactly it. It's not necessarily the worst problem that you can think of. It is something that, one, you have to be good at being able to solve the problem. You have to have the interest of being able to solve the problem for the person. So it is this intersection, and we talk a lot about that in Calling Clarity, about, the things you're good at. That's always what can be intrinsically done, right? That's stuff that you get lost in time, so to speak, when you kind of do it. Things you're good at doesn't necessarily mean that you're working your genius zone. It just means you've learned to do it really well.
Yeah.
But sometimes it gets to the place where you've learned it so well, it comes easy to you. And I think what people forget is that the things that come easy to you don't come easy to everybody else.
I know. And we often think like, oh, well, this is nothing. I can do this. Anybody can do this. So and when we think that, we're limiting ourselves because we think, well, everybody knows how to do this. I'm not any. If I go ask people to help them do this, it is not going to be anything anybody's going to want, and that's so not true. We really do have to see ourselves as the person who knows how to do this, the person who loves how to do this, and the person that is willing to help others. Serve others, to do it. So I really, really love that. So I just wanted to let everybody know, if they want to know more about that, they can go to my website at DeneenTB.com and get that How to Get Clarity worksheet and really brainstorm through what are your three areas and what overlaps. And that can get you started on what type of business do you want to do, or what type of business are you doing that you should maybe shift a little bit, right? Yeah, just right. It might be just a small shift. And the worksheet is good because you can write it down. Like you can sit here and say, oh, I'm good at this. I'm good at that. I like this. But really, write it down, look at it, read it, look at it the next day. It's a worksheet.
Oh,
so
definitely. I love what we talk about mastery. I have a verse for it as well. It's Galatians 6:4, and it says, pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done, and you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else. And I think this also helps us with the problem we were talking about of watching other people and either getting defeated or having the wrong motivation by saying, well, I'll show them, because that's not good motive. That's not going to keep you doing what it is that you're doing. But if you're comfortable, if you've mastered what it is you're doing, and you know that you can do it well, that's going to help keep you motivated, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Because you get that feeling of that reward, like, oh, look, I did this. And look how great it came out, or whatever it is,
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
it could be. Like,
that sense of
I'm good at
accomplishment.
this.
Exactly. That,
Yeah.
and you get better at it because as entrepreneurs, we're constantly learning as
Right.
well.
Right.
Okay, so that brings us to the second word. Our second word is autonomy.
Yes. That's a big
Now,
one.
this was a big motivator for you, right, Mary? What were some of your reasons to have autonomy? Because I know you left corporate.
I did. Yeah. I wanted to be my own boss. I had worked my whole career, 25 plus years under a boss. And I felt so stifled, and I wanted to do my own thing.
And you tried a lot of different ways to do that.
I did. I tried a lot of different ways, a lot of side hustles. As we didn't call them side hustles then, and I'm not that old, but gosh, I didn't call them side hustles. I just tried to launch a few different businesses, because I have that entrepreneurial spirit that we all have. Right?
Exactly.
You have it too, Deneen. Didn't you do the same thing?
Yeah, because I never really fit into the teacher crowd when I was teaching, even though I had a full-time job. And I really enjoy what I enjoy of entrepreneurship is the autonomy to work in my genius zone, to take those three things and kind of meld them together and say, where do I hit that I can help the most people with the problem that I know I can solve for them.
Right.
And of course, for me, that is clarity in getting all those things.
Yeah.
But it's pulling all that stuff that is from your past or from experiences or learning, education, whatever it is, and really evaluating it. And I like what you said about writing it down. It's different when we see it in front of our eyes, because a lot of times, it just swirls around in our head, and we can't decipher what's a real good thought and what's just like a meandering thought that kind of weaseled its way in there.
Yeah. And I also like what you said, because it hits home for me, is that I didn't fit in either. Mm-hmm. I didn't fit in I didn't want to be there with the corporate crowd. And I was there for so long. But I totally understand what you're saying. I just didn't ever feel like I fit in.
Right. And I know a lot of people may feel that way too. I don't fit in here. Maybe though, some people might have it might be a toxic environment that they're in, or stressful environment that's not good on your health or anything like that. And we want to be an entrepreneur because we just have that feeling of I just want to be able to breathe.
Right. Yes. And freedom.
Freedom. Is that a song, right?
It is. It was going
we don't want to be copyrighted. We don't want a copyright strike for that.
Oh no.
So anyway, 1 Thessalonians 4:11 is the verse that I have pulled for this one. And it says, make it your goal to live a quiet life, minding your own business and working with your hands, just as we instructed you before. And of course, we're talking about Timothy and Paul and the little group that went to Thessalonica. But I love this autonomy piece. And I think a lot of people that I come across, especially that chat with me on LinkedIn, they talk about wanting to leave corporate, wanting to go be their own boss because of all these different reasons, whether it's not fitting in, or if it's the toxic environment, or just too much stress, or they always just wanted to be their own boss, the freedom, as you said, right? So I think that this is something that motivates a lot of people that start a business coming out of corporate, as opposed to the mastery one of motivation, which is more, I think, of what happened with me with the genius zone. And I wanted to do something that was uniquely me. Right. So we have a question for the audience, Mary. I'd like to ask them what their motivation is for being an entrepreneur. So far we've talked about mastery, wanting to use your gifts, your talents, and your genius zone. Or is it autonomy? Do you want to ditch corporate for doing your own thing, being your own boss? Or is it a combination? Or is it even something else? I would love for you to let us know down in the comments.
Yeah. And I think it could be, like you said, a combination, more than one.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe two of them, maybe all three. But
right. And the thing is that we have to remember that if we can layer it into all three of those, that it's going to help keep us even more motivated. Because what happens when we get frustrated in the mastery part because we just can't learn this thing we need to learn, then we have to rely on the motivation being in the hey, I'm autonomous. I get to like sit here and figure this out, and I don't have the boss coming down on my head because I have a timeline. You know, have that can motivate you.
Right.
And then of course we're going to go into the end of the map, our map, and we're going to go into purpose. And I think that is a highly motivated type of thing, especially if you're frustrated in the other areas. You can still sit back on your purpose, the reason. And I think for believers, this is the strongest motivation for us as Christian entrepreneurs. We want our work to have meaning. And usually, go ahead.
I was going to say an impact. An impact. We want meaning, impact. We want to impact people. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's one of the things that I've seen with our clients as well is that God has positioned each one and brought them through something that now they want to help others do. I know that was true for me. I wanted to help people to really understand how God has uniquely designed them to do what he's asking them to do and not feel that intimidation and see all their brilliance on the paper, so to speak. I know. And for you, it was the same with technology, right? And working with your women.
Yeah, I was working with women, obviously, that I was shocked when I found out how they had been taken advantage of through technology and being charged ridiculous amounts for websites and just general technical business technology type things. I was shocked. And that just, I was like, oh gosh, I have to help these women. We have to help women not be afraid of technology. And
yeah, so that was the thing that was breaking your heart. It gave you a purpose. You were like, I see this problem and I know I can solve this problem. So, you know, when we do this, in the How to Get Clarity worksheet, it asks that question, how do you want to serve the world? So what problem is it that you solve and how can you help others? I know we have a worksheet, we call it the Overcomer tool in Calling Clarity, and I love it. I love that we created it because I think it really helps women to really see all the things that God has brought them through, to see that there is purpose in each thing and that you can choose which one you really want to focus on so that it is your mastery. It feels autonomous and it is a purpose. I remember when I was in direct sales, they called this the why. You know, why you do what you do, and really it is your purpose. And when we begin to look at what our purpose is, I go back to what we call our personal mission statement.
Yes, right.
And the personal mission statement is not necessarily just for your business. It's that kind of overarching thing that you've kind of been doing all along. I know my personal mission statement talks about helping women to really understand their faith and share their faith. And I've done that in so many different ways. It is like, I can see that theme. I guess I would call it a theme that's running through my life, whether I was doing Bible study or I was selling, products that for the home that were faith-based, and now coaching women to understand their uniqueness in how God's designed them. So have you found that true with your personal mission statement?
Yeah, I mean, my personal mission statement is to serve people and help them to be all the best that they can be. And throughout my life, I've changed it through, is it through technology? Is it through, I've done health coaching? Is it, so many, it comes out in so many different ways. So that's why it's like your personal mission statement. It's about you. And sometimes people get it confused with like a business mission statement or something. It's definitely not that. It's really all about you and how you want to serve the world for Jesus.
Exactly. And I think when we can differentiate that and really in looking through our life and say, yes, I can see how I use this exact same thing here, this exact same thing here, this exact same thing here. That's the personal mission statement. The fact that God has us doing it through business right now is just one aspect of how we show up in the world. And I think it does give us a deeper purpose, knowing that we have this personal mission statement in the back of our minds where we can kind of hold on to that and go and use it as kind of a litmus test. Like, is this really what I'm doing here? Am I doing my personal mission statement? I think that's truly important because it's supposed to hit all parts of our life as well. Romans 12:1 says, "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him." So if we're living in our purpose,
right,
if we're seeking our purpose, if we're seeking to do what God is calling us to do, then we are worshiping God at the same time through our work.
Right. Yep. Definitely. That's good.
I was, as we're talking, is like sparking all these things for me that I might not have thought about before, you know.
Yeah.
We all want, like you said, we all want to have impact.
Right. We do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember where I've read this recently, but we don't want to, leave the earth without having made an impact on somebody or something.
Right. And it's not about how many. It's about how deeply.
Right.
It's about how do we take what we know? How do we take that genius that we have, that mastery, pull it all together to be autonomous because God's called us into our own businesses, and be motivated by that autonomy and really look at our purpose and pull that all together so that we're not making those little splashes all over the place trying to make a little tiny impact in many different ways, but using that one focus to make that deeper impact. Whether we're, it says if you have to be a leader, you have to have someone following you. Well, that could be 1, 10, 10,000, a million, but there's somebody that you can lead to help them get over what you've already come through, that overcomer kind of thing. So I think that's truly important. Do you feel like these 3 words are really the best way to create motivation for us as Christians?
I think it's a great way to create motivation if we keep on remembering them. Like, we should have them in front of us so that we remember our reasons why we're doing it. To go back to the why, it really goes back to your why and why we're doing it. So definitely, I think so.
Yeah. The world says to create a business motivated by money, power, and recognition. And God says create a business for the mastery, autonomy, and purpose. And guess what? Research shows that we are better motivated when we do it God's way. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
But everybody will have to go read Daniel Pink's book, Drive, to see all the research, because we couldn't possibly go into all the research in this short amount of time on the podcast today. Do you have anything else you'd like to tell our audience before we wrap it up here today, Mary?
I can't think of anything right now. Just what you were saying there was really hit home for me. So it's something that we have to continually remind ourselves, because the world is going to keep on telling us that we have to be in it for the huge number of followers, huge number, the money, and we have to keep on reminding ourselves. That's why hopefully we're here to help remind others and remind ourselves and remind others.
Exactly. Thanks. I agree as well. I think you summed it up really well. So I want to tell our audience to make sure to leave us a comment about what is motivating you in your God-centered business. And of course, follow us here on the podcast. Give us a review. Make sure you subscribe, especially if you're watching on YouTube. This is DeneenTB
and Mary and Laura.
Have a great rest of your day. And as always, be filled to overflowing.